Welcome to the Festival of Storytellers.
I thank everybody that's involved with this process because we know writers need readers and writers need publishers.
Experience is not about the publisher, it is about us, the authors.
Well, good lunchtime for you all. I have a question for you in the beginning. The types of books that you read, how about if you were really the key character in the book and you were trapped between the Justice Department, the mob, and a notorious union, bringing intrigue, violence, and murder? If those types of things you find interesting, then I suggest you get this book, Quinn's Dilemma. This book was not made up. In fact, I lived it. In the beginning of the book, on the first page, it says, "Be careful what you wish for, and may you live an interesting life." Well, at the time I was working on Wall Street, and I was getting a little bit tired of the commute, and I let it be known that I was available for somebody in a position that, that I would find attractive. And I got a call from a gentleman who was the owner of a fairly large regional brokerage firm. And he said, "We have an office that is next to last in our production, and we're planning on closing it unless somebody can come in and turn it around. Would that be you?" And I said, "I think it's possible." So I wound up going from New York City out to a city in the country and did the normal things, which is you recruit people from other firms by giving them the opportunity to maybe do a little bit more than what they were doing, a little less restrictions than what they were facing in their present term, or firm, I should say. And one of the people that I attracted, I was very, very pleased because he was doing $1 million a year in business. Needless to say, that filled my requirement of making this firm next to last and not closing him. As a matter of fact, along with him, there were some other brokers who came and joined the firm, and before you knew it, we had an up-and-coming firm with a growing, very nice growing business. I've got some things. Excited to hear more from you today. Well, I don't know if you're going to hear more from me today, but I'm going to tell you that Quinn's Dilemma is not a made up book. It is, in fact, almost a diary. 90% of this book is exactly what happened to me. I had to pick a name, so I picked Parker Quinn. And throughout the book, that's me. And what I didn't realize when I hired the $1 million broker was that he was bribing the head of the union at $250,000 a year. And honestly, he really didn't know a whole heck of a lot about what was going on in the brokerage firm. He had all of the business from the union's retirement plan. They had 51,000 members. And that brought in plenty of revenue for him. And he didn't have to be terribly bright because he didn't have to do anything to get it except take care of the union leader. And we have another one. Hi, Bruce. Your discussion about Quinn's Dilemma has been a blast. Well, thank you. I think that if you're reading this book and you're considering yourself Parker Quinn, as I was, you'll realize it can get a little tense because, as it says here, caught between the Justice Department, a notorious union, and the mafia. The mafia did have killing people on him, and the current head of the union was convicted of taking bribes, and he got out of it the old-fashioned way. He died, and then my friend became the number one person to run the union. And that was really, really nice because it cleaned things up an awful lot, but it didn't make things totally uninteresting by any means because the mafia and related organizations produced a lot of interesting reading. And being trapped, as I was, between the federal prosecutor, FBI agents, police departments, and everything, trying to put this union out of business, or at least at the minimum take the leader out and put another leader in. I got called down one day by somebody. They just said it was, they just wanted to speak to me about business. And I said, okay. So I went down to a motel and I walked into the door. There were two gentlemen standing there. And the first words out of one of their mouths was, "You're doing 7 to 10 years for bribery." I said, really? Because I haven't bribed anybody. And then it was asking questions and that I couldn't answer, honestly couldn't answer. And I finally got out of there. But it shows that it was a never-ending battle, not necessarily between me and the mafia or me and the mob or whatever. It was trying to be in between and not engage in something that might infuriate somebody in this group. Because when they get infuriated, they typically shoot you. So it was something that I didn't want to do. And you'll find in the book that there's a lot of people who, when they're not in action, let's say, we're fairly decent people. The mob's hitman, I hired his wife too at his request, and I didn't think turning down the hitman was a good idea. And the beauty of it is that she was a good worker, did her job very well. I hired the wife of the new union member. She was the same way, did the job very well. And I actually thought at the time when she was sitting across the table from me, it was, well, if you actually weren't married to the head of the union, I'd certainly want to date you. Let's see. I heard there had been a mafia organization that fed people in the past. Do you think there are some groups that do kind gestures without the public knowing? I suppose so, but the mafia wasn't one of them. I'll give you an example. Every Saturday I went to lunch. On the other side of the table were the mob members, the head of the mob. The head of the union was there, and some of the other principal characters involved in all of this. And when anybody wanted me not to know what they were talking about, they were talking Italian. Well, I took 2 years of Italian in college and could somewhat understand what they were talking about. I was a little rusty by that time. And I did a stupid thing one Saturday. They were talking in Italian so that I wouldn't understand them. And I started talking back to them in Italian. Well, you can imagine they looked at each other, and I know what the first thought in their mind was. We can't have this guy around. Let's call our hitter and get rid of him. And I was very quick to tell them I really didn't know what they were doing, and that they really didn't have any problem. I wasn't going to say anything to anybody. And we have somebody else who's saying, are labor unions in America usually affiliated with mobsters? No, I don't believe so. The union that these people were affiliated with had been around for a long, long time. And the union in and of itself was, shall we say, almost a representation of the mob. In fact, the head of the union wound up doing something that the mob didn't like. And as a result, he wound up as an upstanding member of the community. That is to say, they poured him into a concrete column that made a football field across the river from Manhattan. And that's where the Yankees played, and I forgot who else. But that was a standard joke. Mr. So-and-so is now an upstanding member of the community. And people still wonder where he is. Beyond anything I've said, I'm not saying any more. Somebody is asking, any advice in how to write you have to forgive me because this print makes a pinhead look big. How to write something, bring again, such as you. How do you write something like this? First thing you do is you live it. Um, and a life of being trapped, shall we say, between the good people and the bad people, and the federal government dead serious on trying to get somebody to rat out, for lack of a better term, people in the mob and anybody else who could be convicted for bribery. I got called into the senior prosecutor in another city, and when I sat down, he said the same thing that the two mafia men said. First thing, first words, not even hello. You're doing 7 to 10 years. And he said it was because we were feeding new issues. Excuse me. We were feeding new issues to the members of the mafia. Well, new issues are simply companies that have stock, but it's not publicly traded. It's held within the company. So what they do is they issue this stock out at some price, let's say $10. And obviously that rakes in a good amount of money for the company. And if it's a very good, exciting company, it's not unusual for that $10 stock that you paid for to finish out the day at 30. So needless to say, the people who got these new issues were the kind that the brokers were trying to satisfy. And I had two ladies in the office who were married to people in the organization. And he said, we know you're giving them new issues. We know you're giving the new issues to the mob. And I said, well, what you don't know is that everybody who works for a brokerage firm, their account has a code in it that says, you're not getting new issues. That was the last time that I met this senior man, because I said, thank you very much. Immediately after this, I said, thank you very much. I got up and I walked out. And as I'm getting out of the door, I'm thinking to myself, boy, how long is it going to be before he's back again trying to get me? We had a good day, Bruce. Always a joy to be here and learn more about your adventure about mafia and the union mob. I won't say this is an educational book, but there's a lot of action in it. There's a lot of tension in it. And it's written under, well, I took a course with James Patterson, who's one of the best novelists out there, and adapted some of his technique into the book so that you wind up finishing one chapter with a question in your mind. Well, what about happened? Well, what happened? How could this go on? Did he get killed? So you start reading the next chapter, and on and on and on. And I have a number of people. I have one person to say he started reading it in the morning and he read the whole book for the day. Okay, thank you for your sharing your story with us. Enjoy the rest of your day. I hope to. I mean, right now I'm in Tennessee and it's supposed to be 64 today and sunny. So yes, I think I'm going to enjoy the rest of my day. But if you want to enjoy something that will keep you on the edge of your seat, so to speak, I heartily recommend that you get Quinn's Dilemma. You can buy it from Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and the printer who made the book, which is called Reader's Magnet. And they've done a wonderful job. They kept me busy, to say the least. And it's, as you go through the book, you wonder, well, how's this going to end? Is Parker Quinn going to get killed in the end, and that's going to be the end of the book? No. I mean, some good things happened in the book. I found a young lady who was very pretty, very conversational, and wound up marrying her. And we were together for 33 years. Unfortunately, this past, now, December of 2020, she died. Fella broke her hip, got a blood clot, and you know how the blood clots work. But if there was any reward for what I went through, she certainly was the best one. And as I said, we turned this losing branch office into a tremendously winning branch office. Were the rest of the brokers doing nasty things? No, just one. And in order to keep, shall I say, the dirt off people's shoes, I gave him a private office across the hall. He loved it because people could come and go without anybody knowing that they were there. Does your family know your history with the mafia? Oh, yes, because you can't go through this with a lot of tension and not say anything to anybody. So, needless to say, the young lady who was my wife and a couple of friends who I absolutely trusted got their ears burned out from me yabbering about what was going on and what I thought my fate was or what was going to happen. But thankfully, nobody close to me, nobody that was good was killed. And I give you an example of how you can get rewarded when you're working with the mafia. One day, one of the members came up to me and said, how would you like some so-and-so and this and that and the other thing? And I said, well, not really. Why? He said, we're robbing a truck and it's full of it, so we've got plenty there for you. I didn't think that was a good idea. So I didn't know what truck it was or anything like that, so there was nothing I could say to anybody. And ratting out the mob is probably not the healthiest thing. We have somebody writing, "Hi, Bruce. Looking back at these encounters was there ever a slight moment when you said yourself, someday I'm going to write a book about this?" And the answer to that is no. But when I retired, I found out that having a busy routine day, as if it was perfectly scheduled for you, all of a sudden had nothing scheduled for you. So I was wondering, how do I keep busy? And I thought, well, remember that line, may you live in an interesting life? Well, I did. And I figured if it was interesting for me and other people, other friends of mine who knew what was going on would say to me, how can you do this? I mean, how do you do it? I couldn't. And that's why I wrote the book, primarily to tell people that one event happened and the way it happened and how some person, Parker Quinn, managed to maneuver through all these people and still come out the other side in one piece. Somebody is saying, looking back at these encounters, was there ever a single moment when you led yourself someday? I couldn't finish it. But if it was, did I ever decide that this wasn't a good idea and I should get out of it? The answer to that is actually no, because I couldn't get out of it. The key man for making money and for paying bribes was working in my office. And even though the FBI would come in and question me about it, it was terribly interesting, suspenseful. Is he going to get shot or isn't he? And but I thought writing the book and doing it from the way that it happened. That's why I say 90% of this book is, it's all, I could call it almost a diary. Quinn's Dilemma. And Parker Quinn was me. So as you read through and you hear the little challenging moments that Parker Quinn got into, you could say, oh yeah, I saw this guy. Well, it was nerve-wracking, to say the least. If you were given a choice, would you have published this book, say, 10 years ago? Probably. But I didn't. Here's the interesting thing. My mother was an English teacher, so needless to say, I knew the language fairly well. And as I said, I took a course with James Patterson, which in fact, I wrote the book a second time using some of the rules that Mr. Patterson taught me. And I thought it made it a better book. A very dear friend of mine said, no, I like the first book better. But I think you'll find that when you get down to it, there's a lot of tension, a lot of, oh my God, what's going to happen now? All of those moments are through the book. And there were killings. People were getting shot quite frequently. Is there anything in the book that you wish you were able to include? Is there anything in the book that you were able to include? I think I included just about everything. What I didn't include was the actual names of the people, the actual location of it all, because I would think that, well, let's say the mob still exists, that would have made them very happy. So there's enough change in names, no specification on location. And so far, I'm still healthy. And I hope to stay that way because talking to you people is really, really nice. And we're getting down to the end of this presentation. And again, I hope you like books where trapped between the Justice Department, the mob, and notorious union brings intrigue, violence, and murder. All through Quinn's Dilemma. Enjoy it. As I said, you can get it on Amazon from the publisher Reader's Magnet and from Barnes & Noble. And I wish you all the best this afternoon. And I hope nobody goes through what I went through, because believe me, it's not good for your interior. In other words, it scares the you-know-what out of you at times. So I wish you all well. And if you really want to get tied down to something that's going to keep you wondering, when's he going to get killed? What's going to happen? How's he going to play this game? That's what this book is. And I certainly would appreciate it if you would get one and take a look at it, because I certainly do not think you'll be disappointed. I mean, for me, it was part of that curse. May you live an interesting life. I hope you all have a good day.